We'll start today, actually, though, with a defense of Matt Miller. You're going, wait, what? And I will admit that this is on some level a very online conversation that is happening. And there was a point today where I was fighting with another national media person and watching Commanders fans and people bickering, fans, bloggers, writers, Grant and JP were all commenting on the same kind of thing. And in fact, they were commenting on the story that we're about to talk about. And I just went, man, I need a vacation. Now, good news for me, I'm out next week. I'm going on vacation. But I was like, I need to get off the internet. I need to delete Twitter from my phone. I need to stop paying attention to this very online discourse because it's actually a lot online. Well, then I was reading some other stuff and I was like, well, this is just, some of this online stuff is actually real in that it's real NFL writers. Like, there's a back and forth I had with one of the writers from The Ringer, and I will admit I probably misread one of his things a little bit and took it clearly harsher than he meant it. But I'm just kind of fed up with all the national people that are just crapping on this team from a football standpoint. And it's not like I'm here to protect them. I'm not here to tell you the Commanders are awesome and that they're doing everything right. They've done everything right forever. Certainly not. If you've listened to the show, you know I don't think that. But I just don't get why people think they're going to suck. And maybe I am now at a point where I'm reading into fair criticism, stuff that's in bounds, and just thinking that everyone hates them and is being lazy on their takes. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to take a step back. And when it comes to what Matt Miller said, I think everyone who's criticizing Matt, and he was on the show last week, I think he's a really smart guy. I don't agree with everything he says. As he said in our back and forth on Twitter, scouting is objective. But I will admit, like even yesterday, we talked about his comments on the show without actually playing the comments. And I'm holding myself to this standard, can be better than that. And in actually listening to the comments, you hear something that is a fair criticism, question / evaluation. And I have 2 points here that I want to make. One, on the actual substance, comparing Sam Howell to Colt McCoy, which is what, quote unquote, got Matt in trouble, had everyone freaking out on the internet today, is a perfectly valid comparison that I actually like a lot. The point of contention that everyone's mad at is comparing Colt's arm to Sam Howell's arm is ridiculous. But that's not what Matt said. That's not a thing that happened. You're mad about something that didn't happen. So let's play for you what happened. Matt was on with Linnell this weekend over on The Fan and was asked about what he thought of Howell. And this, in full, a minute 40, is what he said.
I do not see him as a playoff caliber quarterback. I'm sorry. Okay. I know people want to believe. I just don't. Coming out of college, there was definitely talk in the lead up to the season that, he could be a QB1. It was him and Spencer Rattler were the toast of the town. And, it didn't work out for either guy. I had Sam rated as my number 74 overall player, and I compared him to Colt McCoy. Undersized, shorter guy, a little bit of a thicker body, not great arm strength. I know a lot of people said, oh, it's Baker Mayfield. I never thought he had as much twitch as a runner as Baker had, especially at Oklahoma. But some of that ability to play on the move, to kind of be like more of a gamer in some ways. Okay, let's find a spot, let's find a window, let's make the throw. I think we saw him pick some of that back up toward the end of the year. The one thing I'll say is there are good weapons in this offense, and that was one of the things with Howell was when he had weapons at UNC, Dimey Brown, Daz Newsome, the two great running backs, he was cooking. Well, he's got Dimey Brown again, and he's got Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel. So you have weapons. Hopefully the offensive line can keep him clean. I like the addition of Andrew Wiley at right tackle, somebody that has experience with a quarterback who likes to run around back there and extend the play. So good fit there. I'm rooting for Sam Howell to prove me wrong. I thought he was better than a fifth-round pick, but I saw him topping out as like a really good backup or someone who would be a short-term starter in the NFL as opposed to a fifth-round steal who's going to turn a franchise around.
That's fair. I don't agree with that necessarily. I think Sam can be a starter in this league. I think he's really smart. I think he's got a good arm. I think he's a gamer. I think that a lot of the positive stuff that Matt said is stuff that I personally value in a quarterback. And I think the processing speed is pretty good. And he's now going to be in an extremely friendly and familiar system with Eric Bieniemy, who's going to run an RPO scheme that's very similar to the one that Howell ran at North Carolina. But saying like, oh, he's not as twitchy as Baker Mayfield. People freak out about that. Because of like, oh, he's a better runner. I think Howell might be a better runner than Baker Mayfield, but the twitchiness, it's a different category. It's a different characteristic. Speed, power, twitchiness, like these are all subjective things that can be weighed and used in different ways by different players. And if you're telling me like who's more explosive as an athlete, it's Baker Mayfield. Who's more likely to beat you with their legs, that might be Sam Howell. Those two things can be true at the same time, but I understand from a projection standpoint why you might not think that. In terms of the Colt McCoy comparison, like it's a really good one. A guy who is Colt. I'm going to back up for a second to circle back around to the point. I had someone tweet at me and be like, Colt was just a game manager, and anything more than that is just believing Gruden's hype. Colt wasn't a game manager. Colt probably could have stood to be a little bit more of a game manager. The reason Jay loved Colt is because Colt would try every throw that was available. He was willing to take risks. The problem was that Colt didn't have the arm by the time he got to the league, got through the shoulder surgeries, etc., to actually make the throws that he saw. He just is a poor executor and a lot of stuff. But decision-wise, he made correct decisions. He didn't have the goods. He didn't have the skill to consistently win at the NFL. Howell's got the goods. So if he's going to play the same way that Colt did, where it's like, hey, I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to make this throw. But he's actually got the arm strength and the ability to layer the ball and the anticipation and all that stuff to do it, then he's going to be really good. That's a great thing. And so as a prospect, as someone who evaluates college prospects, Matt Miller is merely looking at Colt McCoy at Texas and comparing him to what Sam Howell was coming out of North Carolina. The problem with Colt McCoy coming out of Texas is, what we didn't really understand at the time was the shoulder injury he suffered in his last game in the national championship game against Alabama was far more severe and affected him far more for a lot longer than anyone anticipated. Otherwise, Colt would have been a lot better player. And he also went to a dog, garbage, terrible, poopsy situation in Cleveland. Sam Howell's got Eric Bieniemy. And if Bieniemy is what we think he's going to be, that could lead to a very successful outcome and Howell outperforming what Matt Miller thought he would be as a spot starter, high-end backup in the league. That doesn't make Matt stupid. It doesn't make Matt wrong. It does mean that we should actually listen to people and pay attention to what they said. Advice that I wish I had followed perhaps even better today myself online. And as we enter the silly season where we are all looking for material, looking for content, whether it's as creators like me of the radio show or fans looking for something about their favorite team, watching, listening, reading, however it is that you consume your favorite things about the Commanders. Yes, I am incredibly frustrated and completely miffed at how down people are and on some level disrespectful of guys like Terry McLaurin, who are way better than some people want to give him credit for. But let's at least meet people where they are, even if where they are is somewhere that I disagree with. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, NFL schedule release is coming up on Thursday. Some pretty significant changes to how that schedule comes together. We'll take a look at them next here on the Team 980. Last thing I'll say real quick on the Matt Miller thing. Some people were trying to pick out the arm strength quote. And see, this is what happens when stuff gets transcribed from an actual conversation. Like, somehow Matt saying he's got a good, not great arm turned into he doesn't have a great arm, and that's just not what he said. So if you're freaking out about that, that's why that initially that's like what I heard because that was being parlayed through my timeline. That's why I reached out to Matt and was like, hey, and this is all public back and forth on Twitter. I was like, hey, what did you mean by the arm strength thing? He's like, he just doesn't have the arm strength to like Mahomes and Josh Allen. That's all. He's got a good arm. It's not going to hold him back. I was like, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. Wow, look what happens. And I'll say this too, real quick tack on. If you hear someone, if you see a quote that goes across your timeline, your news feed, however it is that you consume media secondhand, especially, and it doesn't make sense because the person who said it is smart and the thing that you think they said is dumb, you probably should go and look it up. Hey, what'd you mean there? Or let me go listen to the full quote in context. Because there's times that I've come in ready to rage for an entire segment, and I'll say, hey, Anthony, can you pull this sound real quick? I want to listen to it. And I'll go, never mind, there's no segment there. Because what they said makes perfect sense. And people are twisting it. And I'm not going to do a segment based off people twisting words out of context and using half quotes or changing, someone says something jokingly and it gets transcribed as serious. Like, that's lame. We're not doing that. And we also we should be better and smarter than that. So that's the end of that piece.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.